Ethan Cole had learned a long time ago how to disappear while standing in plain sight. At 34, he moved through the world quietly, shoulders slightly hunched, voice measured, eyes always scanning clocks and exits. Not because he was afraid, but because time was something he never had enough of. Every minute belonged to someone else. To his job. To his daughter. To the past he never spoke about. That Thursday night was no different. The office lights on the 42nd floor of Grayson and Holt Consulting flickered into their late evening dim mode, bathing the glass walls in a cold, artificial glow. Most employees had already left hours ago. Ethan was still there. Of course he was. He sat at his desk, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, fingers flying across the keyboard as he finalized projections he knew would never carry his name. His coffee had gone cold sometime after midnight. Across the floor, behind the glass walls of the corner office, Victoria Hale remained seated at her desk. The boss. The woman everyone feared. The woman Ethan avoided more than fire. Victoria Hale didn't just command a room, she controlled oxygen. Tall, impeccably dressed, sharp-eyed, she had built her reputation on impossible standards and merciless efficiency. Promotions lived or died at the edge of her pen. And tonight, something was wrong. Ethan noticed it not because he wanted to, but because he was trained to notice when things were about to fall apart. Victoria's posture was off. Her movements slower. The edge in her voice dulled. When she finally stood, she swayed. Just slightly. Enough. Ethan rose instinctively, heart tightening. She grabbed the back of her chair, steadying herself, then reached for her purse, but missed. It slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a dull thud. The sound echoed across the empty office. Victoria froze. For a moment, she just stared at it. Ethan hesitated. This wasn't his place. This wasn't his business. But then she laughed. Not her usual sharp, controlled laugh. This one cracked. I'm fine, she muttered to no one. Ethan crossed the floor before his brain caught up with his feet. Miss Hale, he said gently. She looked up, startled, then embarrassed. Cole, she said. Why are you still here? Deadlines don't raise themselves, he replied, offering a small smile. Her eyes flickered over him. Calculating. Tired. You should go home, she said. Your daughter. The mention hit him like a bruise. She's with my neighbor tonight, he said. I'll get her in the morning. Victoria bent to pick up her purse and nearly fell. That's when Ethan stepped in. He caught her arm. The contact was electric. She stiffened, pulling away, but not fast enough to hide the tremor in her hands. I said I'm fine, she snapped. I know, Ethan said calmly. But you're not safe to drive. Silence. The city hummed beyond the windows. Victoria's jaw clenched. I don't need a babysitter. No, Ethan said softly. You don't. You just need help getting home. She stared at him. Really stared. For the first time since he'd worked here, her eyes didn't look sharp. They looked lost. I had one drink, she said. Ethan glanced at the half-empty bottle of whiskey on her desk. She followed his gaze. Oh, she said faintly. That. Her shoulders sagged. The mask slipped. And for just a second, Victoria Hale looked like a woman who had been holding herself together with glass and willpower, and both were about to shatter. Let me call you a car, Ethan offered. She shook her head. No drivers. No witnesses. Something in her tone made him pause. I'll take you, he said before thinking. Her eyes widened. That's inappropriate. So is you driving like this, he replied. Another long silence. Then, quietly, I don't want to be alone tonight. The words barely made it out. Ethan felt something shift in his chest. Not desire. Responsibility. Okay, he said. Let's go. The rain started the moment they stepped outside. Heavy. Cold. Relentless. Ethan held his jacket over Victoria's head as they hurried to his old sedan. She laughed weakly, hair clinging to her cheeks. You don't have to do this, she said as he opened the passenger door. I know, he replied. She looked at him again, longer this time. Then she got in. The drive was quiet. The city lights blurred through rain-streaked windows as the radio hummed softly. Victoria leaned her head back against the seat, eyes closed. Why are you so good? She asked suddenly. Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. I'm not, he said. I'm just used to taking care of people. Your wife, she said. The words sliced cleanly. My wife died, he said evenly. The car fell silent. I'm sorry, she whispered. So am I. They pulled up to her townhouse just past 2 a.m. Ethan helped her inside. The place was immaculate. Empty. Cold. She kicked off her heels and sank onto the couch, suddenly small. I hate mornings, she said. They remind me of everything I failed to fix. Ethan turned away, giving her space. I'll get you some water. When he returned, she was crying. Not loudly. Just silently, tears slipping down her cheeks like they'd been waiting all night. He handed her the glass. She looked up at him through tears. Why did you help me? She asked. Ethan swallowed. Because someone once helped me, he said. When I didn't deserve it. She nodded slowly. Stay, she said. He hesitated. I'll sit in the chair, he said. You'll sleep. She didn't argue. Within minutes, she was asleep. Ethan sat there until dawn. Thinking of his daughter. Thinking of the past. Thinking of how kindness always seems harmless until it changes everything. The next morning. Sunlight spilled through the window. Victoria stirred. She opened her eyes. And froze. Ethan was there. Sitting quietly. Watching the door like a guard. Memory rushed back all at once. The office. The rain. The whiskey. Her breath caught. She sat up suddenly. Nothing happened, Ethan said. Quickly. You slept. I stayed. She nodded, heart pounding. Then her eyes landed on his wrist. The watch. Old. Scratched. Familiar. Too familiar. Her face drained of color. Where did you get that watch? She whispered. Ethan frowned. It was my father's. Her hands began to shake. No, she said. That's not possible. She stood, backing away. I gave that watch to a man 13 years ago, she said, voice breaking. A man who disappeared after my biggest mistake. Ethan felt the room tilt. She looked at him, really looked at him. Then she asked the question. The one that would shatter his life forever. What was the name of the woman who died giving birth to your daughter? Ethan's heart stopped. Ethan didn't answer her. He couldn't. The question hung in the air like smoke after an explosion, thick, choking, impossible to ignore. Victoria Hale stood frozen a few feet away from him, her back pressed against the edge of the kitchen counter as if the room itself might give way beneath her. Her eyes never left his face. Ethan, she whispered. Please. His throat tightened. Slowly, mechanically, he stood up. My wife's name, he said, each word dragged from somewhere deep and painful, was Lily Morgan. Victoria's knees buckled. She grabbed the counter, gasping as if she'd been struck. No, she breathed. No, no, no. Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. You knew her, he said. It wasn't a question. Victoria's face crumpled. I was her sister. The words landed like a gunshot. Ethan felt the room spin. "Sister," he repeated hoarsely. Victoria nodded, tears streaming freely now. "My younger sister," she said. "My biggest failure." Memories exploded inside Ethan's mind, memories he had spent 13 years burying just to survive. Lily's laugh. Her stubborn kindness. The way she believed in people long after they'd stopped believing in themselves. And the day everything fell apart. 13 years earlier. Lily Morgan had shown up at Ethan's door with a suitcase and red, swollen eyes. "She kicked me out," Lily said quietly. "Who?" Ethan asked, already knowing. "Victoria." At the time, Victoria Hale was still climbing, brilliant, ruthless, obsessed with control. Lily had been the opposite. Gentle. Emotional. Soft in a world that punished softness. "She said the baby would ruin everything," Lily whispered. "That I was throwing my life away." Ethan had taken Lily in without hesitation. They weren't married yet. They were barely stable. But they were in love. When Lily went into labor early, everything happened too fast. Too much blood. Too many alarms. Too many apologies whispered through tears. Lily died holding Ethan's hand. Their daughter, Grace, survived. Ethan remembered standing in that hospital hallway, holding a newborn and a death certificate, feeling like half his soul had been ripped out. Victoria never came. Not to the hospital. Not to the funeral. Just a single envelope. Money. And silence. Back to the present. "She never told me she died," Victoria said, her voice barely audible. "She vanished. She stopped answering. And then, life swallowed me." Ethan's hands clenched. "She didn't vanish," he said. "She was abandoned." Victoria flinched. "I know," she sobbed. "I know that now." She slid down to the floor, covering her face. "I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid she'd fail. Afraid she'd be like our mother. Afraid that loving her would cost me everything." Ethan said nothing. Pain like this didn't need words. "How old is she?" Victoria asked through tears. Ethan hesitated. "Grace is 12. Victoria broke completely. 12 years, she whispered. 12 birthdays. 12 Christmases. 12 chances to be better. Ethan turned toward the window, staring at the morning light. "She doesn't know you exist," he said. "And that wasn't an accident." "I don't deserve to," Victoria said. "But I need to know she's okay." "She is," Ethan said firmly. "She's kind. She loves books. She forgives too easily. Just like Lily." Victoria looked up. "Can I see her?" Ethan shook his head immediately. "No." The word was final. "You don't get to reopen her life because guilt finally caught up with you." Victoria nodded, accepting the blow. "I understand," she said. "I won't force myself into her world." She stood slowly. "But Ethan," she said softly, "you saved me last night." He scoffed. "I drove you home." "No," she said. "You treated me like a human being when I didn't deserve it." She straightened, wiping her tears. "And now I know why. The consequences." Ethan expected retaliation. Demotion. Termination. Silence. Instead, the next week, Victoria called him into her office. HR was there. Legal. The air felt heavy. "I'm resigning," Victoria announced. Ethan's eyes widened. "What?" "I've built success on control and fear," she said. "And I lost everything that mattered along the way." She slid a folder across the table. "Grayson and Holt will promote Ethan Cole to Director of Operations, effective immediately." HR blinked. Ethan stared. "I didn't ask for this," he said. No, Victoria replied. You earned it. She stood. And I will be setting up a trust fund for Grace. No conditions. No appearances. No interference. Ethan's voice cracked. She's not a problem to be solved, he said. I know, Victoria said gently. She's a gift I almost destroyed. The final act of kindness. Months passed. Life changed. Ethan moved into a better apartment. Grace started smiling more. Laughter returned. One evening, as Ethan tucked Grace into bed, she asked casually, Daddy. Mommy had a sister, right? Ethan froze. Yes, he said carefully. Can I meet her someday? He swallowed. Why? Grace shrugged. Because Mommy loved people. And love doesn't disappear. Tears filled his eyes. Someday, he said softly. Down the street, Victoria Hale sat alone on a park bench, watching children laugh from afar. She didn't approach. She didn't interrupt. She just watched. And for the first time in her life, she chose restraint over control. Kindness doesn't always come back as reward. Sometimes, it comes back as truth. And truth can shatter you before it heals you.